March 13th, 1971. In New York City, Bill Graham is about to close the doors on one of rock and roll's greatest emporiums, the Fillmore East. The night before the sounds will cease, a devoted crowd of hundreds is packed into the reverberating room where the real perfectionists of rock history have held court into the early hours of the new dawn. Tonight, they are listening to Duane Allman, Gregg Allman, Dickie Betts, Berry Oakley, Jay Johansson, and Butch Trucks. They are the Allman Brothers Band. The song is Whipping Post, and the man on organ, piano, and doing the singing is Gregg Allman.
My friends tell that I've been such a fool, and I had to stand by and take it, baby. Oh, for loving you. I drown myself in sorrow as I look at what you've done. But nothing seems to change. The bad times stay the same. And I can't run. Sometimes I feel. Sometimes I feel like I'm dying. The whipping post. The whipping post. The whipping post. Lord, I feel like I'm dying.
For many people, it is believed that rock and roll must have originated somewhere in England in the early 60s. It did not. Rhythm and blues, jazz, gospel, and rock are part of the American cultural experience. Some would say it is the only indigenous American music, and it is not without a little bit of old-fashioned Dixie pride that the Allman Brothers Band brought their very personal, highly stylized, pulsating rhythmic sound to the small towns and giant arenas of America's heartland. Tonight, Innerview fine-tunes its dial on one of the most colorful, talented, and controversial figures in contemporary music, Gregg Allman.
I guess I saw it coming day by day. But oh, I could not stand the failure. Before you leave, there's just one thing I must say. Please call home if you change your mind. Black-hearted woman, can't you see a poor man die? I got 15 loving children. No mama knocking at your door. But every hungry woman been in your place before. The landlord is on my line. I can't get no peace of mind. But I know there's something better. Well, I'll gather up all my four-leaf clothes. Don't leave out on my way over. I walk out on the street and leave my blues at home.
We talked on tape for 7 hours. He had just gotten off of a plane from the Bahama Islands and was exhausted. We both agreed to go until there was nothing left to say. There are some difficult moments for Gregg in this interview and some painful recollections. If you have ever wondered why he is so effective when singing the blues, you will understand after this conversation.
I have not come yet to testify about our bad misfortune. I ain't here wondering why, but I live on. And I'll be strong, 'cause it just ain't my cross to bear.
I guess even before we begin the interview, the first question would be, why? Why would you want all those people to know all this much that you're about to tell about your own life?
Well, it's about time, really. I mean, I've been pretty elusive lately. And, I mean, everybody knows what she and he are doing, so why shouldn't they know what I'm doing?
In other words, the reason is, by the way, is this the first time that you're really coming out in the press? And
first time I've ever volunteered for anything like that.
Your motivation, then, is that you just feel that it's time for your side of the story to be told.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind it, by the way? Do you find all this...
I just half of a pain in the ass. But, I go along with it because it's just one of the pawns in the game, you know.
What are your feelings, though, about all the coverage, the hundreds of magazine covers you're facing?
I think it's, I don't like the idea of somebody making their money off of hurting other people. I don't like that at all. And I don't think anybody else in their right mind would.
This afternoon, just by way of research for this piece, I visited a local magazine store in the Hollywood area. And there was either a picture of you on the cover or a story about you in 17 magazines, 17 different publications as of this morning, May the 1st. Do you read the stuff, is the first question.
I don't even look at it. I don't even cast my eyes on it. I mean, I go into a drugstore and I look over and see every other one's my picture and just blow it off. I mean, why? You know, it would only bring me a bunch of trouble and heartache.
Did you have public relations people, press agents who you hired to get your name before the public? Or did that happen out of your own control?
I was with Sher's company.
And they would plant stories, they would make sure that your names were in the columns?
They'd make sure the photographers were there. I think they did us more harm than they did us good. Cher
liked those magazines, I was told. I was told that she had them collected for her. Is that true?
That's true. She had a lady working at Schwab's.
Which is a drugstore in Hollywood.
Right. The lady would read things first and then put a paper clip on it and put what page it was all on. And they would get to the house. I mean, it'd come every day, man.
Did Cher collect them? I mean, are there thousands of magazines in a secret room in the house?
Yeah, afraid so.
Did she get angry reading those things? Or obviously not, she liked to collect them.
I don't know, man. It seemed like she got off on being angry.
That must look like a library. I mean, there must be like a vault of 5,000 magazines. This time around...
That's about right, man. I mean, they're stacked up to the ceiling.
This interview that we're about to do, do you have any...
I thought we were doing it.
That we are doing. Any fears about it? Any hesitation as you enter into this?
Not at all, man, because you can't lose by telling the truth.
Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy on me. Yeah, I cried. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy on me.
Innerview's exclusive conversation with Gregg Allman continues after these messages.
Can go and knock upon your front chains that bound me wrapped all around me. Every night the moon shines bright. I feel uptight. Oh, you know it just don't seem right.
During the mid-60s in California, the Hourglass was just one of dozens of new groups who sprang up along the winding coastal horizon. It was a cultural renaissance of unprecedented proportion. The Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead, The Doors, the Buffalo Springfield, you know the ones. In L.A., Gregg and Duane Allman formed a band they called the Hourglass. It grew out of an earlier effort called the Allman Joys. Although they enjoyed some notoriety in such local LA music spots as the Hullabaloo, it became increasingly difficult for the band to stay afloat.
Hear that train whistle blow makes me feel so good to know that I'm not gonna leave to seek the things that I don't need anymore.
Let's begin at the very beginning, Gregory. Your earliest recollections of your childhood. Where and when were you born? Let's do it biographically.
Nashville, Tennessee, 12/8/47.
Do you know what time you were born?
3:39 a.m. St. Thomas Hospital.
Your earliest recollections before your dad died of your mom and your father.
He was murdered. He came home from Korea on the 24th of December. Perfect setup, right? Gets off the boat for Christmas, right? On the 26th, he picks up some jive hitchhiker and he blows him away with a German Luger. 7 times in the back. Well, I was 2 years old.
You have no memory then of your father at all?
Not at all. Could have used one.
Was the person who did that ever...
He got a sentence called 99+1. He's still in the Tennessee State Prison. You can't serve the 1 until you serve the 99.
In other words, they're consecutive sentences, which means technically he will be in jail forever.
That's right. And he belongs there.
Who else was in the family in the beginning?
Okay, there was 3 brothers. Willis Turner Allman, my father. Samuel Turner Allman, my uncle. And David G. Allman. I don't know what the G stands for. It might be my name, David Gregory. David is a Metro policeman on the Nashville force.
Your brother's a cop?
My uncle.
Your uncle's a cop?
I only had 1 brother.
It's fair to say that you idolized him, didn't you? You loved him more than just a brother. You thought he was really...
He was a genius. He would have been another Stevie Wonder, man, if he lived.
I want to read you a quotation. I want to get your reaction to it, okay?
Okay.
This is a quotation attributed to your mother. And she said the following, quote, Duane, and I don't say this just as a mother, Duane was a brilliant person. We sat on the couch one day, and by this time he had traded guitars so many times he had his guitar, and he said to me, Mother, I would go hungry to play this guitar. Well, then I knew he was dedicated. I knew he had picked his way. He wanted to snatch Gregg out of school, and I said, no, you didn't want to graduate, but Gregg wants his diploma. Duane didn't need a diploma. Later he regretted it, but he didn't need it. He had everything born in him that he needed. Unquote.
Amen.
Duane had everything in him, as your mother really beautifully put it in.
He did. He was, well, see, I used to be a paper boy. 184 papers twice a day. And he was busy skipping school and playing pool. Literally. So I threw all his papers because I wanted to buy me a guitar, because I had some kind of fascination for him.
But it was Duane. it was Duane more than...
Well, so, anyway, I got the damn guitar, finally. After 3 months of throwing papers, I made $21, and it was $22.95, Sears and Roebuck Silvertone guitar. And my mother lent me the 95 cents.
But how old were you when you got your Sears and Roebuck $20 guitar?
That was November 10th of 1960.
You keep coming up with these numbers all the time. How do you remember that it was... What date did you just
give?
It
was a good day, man.
It's written in the sky.
No, come on. How do you keep remembering the day you got...
I bought a Pablo Simmons music company on Volusia Avenue. That'd be 139 Volusia Avenue.
Oh, come on.
November 10th, 1960. Call.
In terms of human beings, it seems to me that your brother Duane was the most significant influence in your life.
I was the lead guitar player at first, and Duane sang. And then he skipped school, and I went to school, and he went home and woodshedded. And I surfed. He played the guitar and rode motorcycles.
At what time did you realize that what you wanted to do with your life was become a musician, and not a dentist, and not...
I finished high school. And I thought, well, I'll just take 1 year out and go out and, get it out of my system and forget it.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kept going and going and going and growing and going. Finally it caught on, and I thought, well, this is my ticket. This is what I was supposed to do. Forget the dentistry.
Last Sunday morning, the sunshine.
You met a man named Johnny Sandlin. He met you and Duane in Pensacola, Florida in 1964 when you were 16 years old. If I understand correctly, it was when you were 16 and Duane was around 17.
He was a year and 18 days older than me.
That you had actually formed your first group. And you were playing in the South.
It would be the Allman Joys.
I want to deal with the Hourglass for a moment, because the Hourglass found themselves in Los Angeles in 1967. And in 1967, that was the time of the big rock and roll scene was really breaking in Los Angeles, 67, 68.
Jim Morrison and all those people.
Did you know Jim Morrison?
Very well.
Did you know Jimi Hendrix?
I just met him in the airport,
What's the next thing chronologically that you remember that was significant in terms of your life and your career? That was certainly a turning point.
Just as I was about to put the gun to my head, the phone rang one Sunday morning. I'll never forget it. It was the first Sunday before March 23rd, 1969, because that is the date that the Allman Brothers formed. That's the date that I got to Jacksonville. So the phone rang, and it was my brother. And Duane said, man, I've got these 5 dudes that play just pretty as you please. They're a good bass player named Oakley, and dynamite lead player named Dickie Betts. And I said, lead player? What the hell do you need a lead player for? And he said, well, Babe Bruh. That's what he called me, Babe Bruh. It's a black southern term that's short for baby brother. And he says, Babe Bruh, we'll have 2 lead players. And he says, and I got 2 drummers. And I thought, 2 drummers? Who in the hell ever heard of having 2 drummers? I thought that was the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard. And he said, the cats love to play. They're all really into their instruments. They sing a little bit, but there's not a whole lot of writing going on. And so I need you to come and sing and write and just kind of round it all up and send it in some sort of direction. And he said that the only stipulation is you're going to have to play organ. And I said, play the organ. I've been playing guitar for 14 years. In the Hourglass, I was a rhythm guitar player. And then I played a little piano. But I had sat down behind a B3 maybe 3 times in my life. And of course, I'd always wanted one. But an organ player, I was not. And he says, if you come back here, well, I tell you what, we'll even arrange to buy you one. That's all it took.
We got the damn band together, and we were really playing, every day. I mean, we played like 8 hours a day. We all lived in the same apartment and just had a bunch of mattresses on the floor. And we just laid there, and we'd get up and we'd cook chickens in the backyard. We'd go collect bottles and cash them in for the bread, and get the money. Next thing I knew, we said, well, why don't we do us a gig? And I said, well, why don't we go up to Atlanta and find us a park and just stop there and start playing? So we did. So 3 hours later, there was 3,000 people there. And that's how it all started.
1, 2.
An incredibly grueling schedule of one-nighters across the country and a dozen albums were yet to come. That, coupled with personal tragedy, would take its toll on Gregg Allman. His memories of the rush and the anguish. After this.
Okay, the Allman Brothers Band.
Is this the time now, 1969, 1970, 1971, when you run those very high-pressured, high-powered tours?
In 1970, I worked 306 nights and did not pay income tax because I did not make $1,600.
After 300 gigs, and after over a year and a half on the road, with no money, did anybody ever get the idea that this wasn't going to work out?
No way. We knew it was going to work.
It was just around this time, after this incredible push, where the Allman Brothers Band were just beginning to form a reputation. Word of mouth was spreading. This is just prior to fame that Dwayne had the accident. I know, and I really understand that it's difficult to talk about this, and I respect that. But
well, it's reality,
So we will just try to get into this as gently as I can.
Okay.
Do you recall where you were?
All right. I was at my house, and I got the phone rang at 8:30 in the morning, and they said, your brother's had a slight motorcycle accident. And the hospital was right behind my house, so I just walked down there. And instead of putting us in the emergency room, they took us to this chapel, and I knew it was up. We were all there sitting around this like church-like place, the church pews and the whole bit. And I knew it was over, and it was. He got a kickstand through the neck, and they revived him. He wasn't DOA.
How did the accident actually happen? He was traveling on a motorcycle.
He was coming back from the bank. Thank God he died with $1,000 in cash in his pocket. He was coming through this street, and this flatbed truck. You ever seen those things that they put through cement when they build freeways that
Steel.
with steel rods? There's a flatbed truck loaded with those, and they were sticking out different lengths. Well, when the cat pulled out on him, there wasn't even a skid mark. I sued him for $10 million and lost. One went to his heart, one went to his lung, one went to his spleen, one went to his stomach. They got him all over. And then the whole thing dragged him 65 feet, and the kickstand went to his neck.
When did your brother die? What was the date?
October 29th, 1971.
How old was he?
24.
When you were at the funeral, just
I
raised.
played a gig at the funeral.
You played music at the funeral?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, we all, I had to go pick out the casket and the whole bit. I mean, have you ever shopped around for a casket? There's some bad window shopping. And I got the casket, and they kept saying, hey, come down and see the body. And I said, that's crazy. You know, I saw him like he was, and that's the way I remember him. Forget it. And I begged my mother not to go down there, but she had to. And so I had a collection of silver dollars, and I sent one down there. I told him to put it in his right hand, and she still got it. And,
you said you played at his funeral.
Yeah. Played with a circle be unbroken. That was written by Pop Staples, Staples singer. And played that one and played Midnight Rider. And played Melissa, which was his favorite song.
When I saw that first come rolling, all to tear my mother away. So I told her, Undertaker, please drive slow. 'Cause that lady got to a hauling. Oh, I hate to see her go. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, oh, by and by?
Is there anything that has not been written about your brother? Is there anything that you have not said before that you would like to say by way of your recollections or thoughts about Gregg?
Yeah, I'd like to log in there that I loved him. And I still do.
Crossroads seem to come and go. Yeah. Gypsy flies from coast to coast, knowing many, loving none, bearing sorrow, having fun. But back home you'll always run, sweet Melissa. Great train, each car looks the same.
After the phenomenal success of the Allman Brothers Band, it was time for Gregg Allman to try it on his own. He called his first effort Laid Back. Before starting our interview, I asked Gregg if there were any subjects that would be off limit. He said that there were not, and I should feel free to ask him about anything, including his past involvement with heroin.
Do you think being a rock and roll star, as you are, as you were, the pressures of that would
I still am.
Yes. The pressures of that was whatever led you originally to drugs. Was it personal reasons? Was it business reasons? Rock and roll? What do you think led you down the road of escapism?
Just being tired. Taking a whole lot of shit from a whole lot of people. And this guy says, hey, take a little bit of this, and if you'd have called it heroin, I would have never done it.
You were not a marijuana smoker at the time?
No way. Never have been. Never will be. You can get hung up on what you're doing, and all of a sudden you find yourself with your hands off the keyboard just kind of grooving on the band, you know? It makes you silly.
What I'm getting at here is that a lot of people believe, most people believe, that heroin addiction begins with marijuana and pills, that one leads to another. You went from zero to bad drugs without any progression. It seems like you just almost jumped into it.
I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't ask to be a heroin addict. First one's free, the second one's on me.
Is that literally true?
That's perfectly true. Well, it takes you about 9 times, I guess, to get hooked. But then all of a sudden you notice that things just ain't right in the morning. And you start creeping around, looking around for things. And you wonder, hey, boy, my life has changed all around. What the hell's going on?
About how long in total were you involved with that?
4.5 years.
And at its worst, were you really just plain strung out?
Yes.
What was it costing you at its peak?
About $300 a day.
A day?
The thing about, and this is for all the people who are strung out there, and we want to send them a little message, you got to want to. Because if you don't want to, stop. You ain't gonna stop. Well, we ain't talking in riddles here, but that's about the way it is.
See, the fact is, boy, Larry, you're gambling with your own happiness, and most all your would-be friends turn out so phony. Over time they change, and we the rain that I sing, the queen of hearts, go where to start,
That's about the way it is.
I think it's important for us to underline once again that experience occurred 3 years ago in 1974. Since then you have used no heroin, no hard drugs.
No way. I mean, that's the old witch, man. It's the easy way out, but the hardest way back in, man.
According to Gregg Allman, it has been over 3 years since he last had any involvement with heroin. He was under special treatment by a New York psychologist, along with an intense methadone maintenance program. He is now clean and claims he will never go back.
There was a great deal of publicity and attention and press about fellow who worked for you named Scooter Herring. Just
John Charles Herring.
That's his real name. I don't want us to do a big number about this, but just briefly, could you give people an idea of what the story was, what the whole thing, how it went down, just generally?
I said, why don't you go on the road with us? And he said, yeah. And he was my best friend. And he probably still is.
What was the story? What was the thing that the press carried? What was the public's conception?
Oh, they did a bunch of ugly man.
What was the bottom line of it?
They brought me in and said, I mean, you know, like they had enough on him through other people's testimonies to convict him. They just brought me in for a bunch of sensationalism.
Was it your testimony that convicted him, or were there other people who testified?
No, he was convicted before I even got there.
I think that's one of the big misconceptions in the press, that a lot of people think that it was you who went in there.
There was one certain female who ratted on him.
What I do want to establish here is that at that time, an awful lot of people came down around you, made all those kind of attacks about you being the whatever phrase they used. Yeah. But in actuality, Scooter is not in prison. He is not serving.
I talked to him the other day, man. He said, hey, how you doing, man?
He has no ill feelings towards you.
Hey, no way.
And those people who hold those grudges against you just do not know the facts, is what you're saying.
That's right.
Do you think people will believe what you just said now?
Well, that's up to them. I mean, I know what I know, and if they don't want to believe it, they can buzz off.
That's all I want to say about Scooter. I think that covered. Unless there's anything you want to add, or you don't.
I'd like to say that I love him. Let me repeat myself. I love him.
In an effort to get more hard facts on the Scooter Herring trial, we spoke with John Kerry, the federal prosecutor in Macon, Georgia. During a 30-minute telephone conversation, he explained to us that the position taken by his office is to make no comment with respect to any prosecution other than what appears in the public record. Mr. Herring is currently free on a $100,000 bond pending his appeal to a higher court. We feel that any additional publicity at this time would not be in the interest of any of the people involved. We have further decided that these matters should be resolved in a court of law, not in billboard or cash box. Coming up next, Gregg, Cher, and Elijah Blue.
Well, I'm going to California tomorrow or today. I'm going there just to warn you that you are still alone, and baby, I'm that same.
Gregory was doing a guest set at Doug Weston's Troubadour Club in Hollywood. She sat in the VIP section with recording executive David Geffen and some others. He had fantasized about her since 1965, when he first saw her on television. Later, he would confess that she was only a challenge, a prize to be won. But that was when things went bad. This is how he remembers the beginning, when it all seems so right.
I got a phone call from her secretary, and she says, here's the phone number. So I called the next day and said, well, let's go out. We went out and we went to Dino's.
Dino's is a restaurant on the Sunset Strip,
Right.
kind of a dark, quiet place.
Right.
Well, what happened on this date? What did the two of you talk about?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Someone said something. There was some topic of conversation discussed.
I tried to kiss her and she backed off, you know.
She said, or a quote was attributed to her, that you wanted to kiss her fingers or attempted to kiss her
Oh, she was sitting there with her hand up there like this, you know, and I grabbed a hold of her little finger with my mouth, you know. And it was just too much too fast for her, you know. And it kind of shook her up a little bit, and she said, why don't we just go?
Could you explain why this date was less than extraordinary? I mean, can you understand what went wrong? Were the two of you in awe of each other, bored with each other?
That's it, in awe of each other.
In awe of each other.
She was scared of me, I was scared of her.
And then you tried to kiss her fingers at Dino's?
It's a pretty bad question, man.
Yeah, that's pretty low, I admit.
And you tried to kiss her fingers at Dino's?
But I mean, is that where...
No, I didn't. I did it.
You kissed her fingers at Dino's?
I had to hold a little finger in my mouth.
It's a hot date. All right, you left Dino's.
Yeah, really.
So now you leave Dino's, and where do you go?
Okay, we went to where I was staying, and we were sitting around and talking and everything, and nothing went right. I mean, everything we did was contradictory, and she said, I gotta go. She got up and walked out, and she said, don't worry, I can see myself to the door. And I said, okay, don't forget to tell your secretary I said hello. Well, that did it. I mean, that's all I could say, you know, I mean, to keep her. And so the next night I called her, I had her number. And I said, look, that date last night was so damn grim, we got to try it again. And she went for it.
Everything went my way. Life was a ball. Then you came along, changed it all. You took the brightest smile in town. Oh yeah, you took it, baby, and turned it upside down.
What happened on the second date, Gregg?
Well, same thing. We went back to Dino's and had dinner, you know, I didn't say nothing. I stayed away from her fingers. So we drive down the street and I said, I can't think of nothing to say to you, man. Nothing. And she said, you know, I'm thinking about the same thing. And I said, why don't we just give it a break and go dance?
Yeah.
So we went to the candy store.
Which is a private discotheque in Beverly Hills.
And we danced our ass off, man. And we had a good time. And from there, we went home and made love.
Was it comfortable?
Beautiful. It all came together right then.
People say that you're no good, but I wouldn't cut you loose, baby, if I could. I seem to stay down on the ground. Baby, I'm too far gone to turn around. Oh, if only you could make up your mind. Take me where you go, but leave me lay behind. Lord, you got those come and go blues.
So how did it all come to an end for Gregg and Cher? Well, only they really know for sure, but Gregory remembers the last episode. It occurred after an argument that sent him back to New York to see his psychologist. When he returned home...
I got out of the limousine and there was this guy with 2 357 Magnums on each side. And
A private security guard.
yeah. And I jumped out of the car real quick, man. I said, hey, what, is somebody bothering our babies? Is somebody messing with us? Somebody break in or something? He said, no. And I said, why in the hell are you here? He says, I'm here to keep you out of here. And I said, well, what about if I just jump over this gate? He said, well, Mr. Allman, I'll have to shoot you.
It's a direct quote from the security guard.
That's right. And what could I do, you know? So the secretary came out and gave me the key to my Corvette, and I took 2 cents out of my pocket and flipped them to her.
You flipped them to the secretary?
Yeah, to both of them, 1 for each. And I got in there and it just blazed out of there.
The security guard was there to
My
keep...
baby was in there, man.
The security guard was hired by Cher to keep you out of the house.
That's right. But I wasn't told about it. And they said, your clothes are at the Holiday Inn.
That was goodbye.
That would be about right.
You can call it love, you can call it a curse, you can call it what you want, you can live in reverse, you can call it black, you can call it blue, you can let this lesson be a message to you. You can let this message be a lesson to you, yeah.
Is there anything else now that you would like to say about Cher, about your relationship, about...
I'd like to say that I wish her good luck, long life, and happiness, no matter what she does, or where she does it, or how she does it. My good vibes and hopes go with her.
The two of you will never get back together again.
No way.
Would I be right in saying that the only interest that you now have in Cher, in her future, in her life,
The eyes are blue.
is your son?
That's exactly right.